Well, Rod, congratulations on your film Buoyancy.
Thank you.
Can you, just in a nutshell, just describe for us just a broad outline of what the film is about in terms of story?
Well, it's about a 14-year-old Cambodian boy who is wanting more out of life than his farming life in rural Cambodia, and so he decides to leave and migrate to Thailand to work in a factory, but he ends up getting tricked and trafficked onto a Thai fishing trawler, and he's destined to spend his life out at sea unless he does something about it. That's basically it.
And he basically becomes a slave worker on a fishing trawler.
Yes.
Okay. Now, first feature films are always hard for any director. This one has almost an added degree of difficulty to it. It's shot overseas.
Yep.
It's with a non-English speaking cast, some of whom are non-professionals, including your lead actor. Why did you elect to make your first film, I guess, such an ambitious and difficult one? Did you not consider taking a step towards making this film? Why did you basically dive in at the deep end?
I was just really compelled by the survivor stories that I read and the survivors that I met, and they were just desperate for a film to be made and their voice to be heard, because they really haven't had much of a voice up to this point. So all those challenges with doing a film in a foreign language with a child actor who hasn't really performed before, that was just became part of the process of making the film. And I kind of, I never really allowed myself to think about those challenges too much, because the film that we were making, the subject and the people about, their lives were extraordinarily difficult.
Just tell us about that. Tell us about what motivated you to make this film, because it's a strongly motivated message film. That's what you're intending anyway.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about your motivation.
So initially, when I read about some of these survivor stories that had been happening in the Thai fishing industry, I couldn't quite believe.
How did you come across them? Did you have a pre-existing interest? Did someone drop a report on your lap? Were you quietly having a cappuccino somewhere and someone alerted you to these issues?
It's a good way to describe it. Nobody alerted me to them. I just came across an article or report by the Environmental Justice Foundation. I don't know, I was just scrolling on the internet or whatever, and I came across this, and I couldn't quite believe what I was reading. And they had some survivor accounts in there, and I just wanted to know more and learn more about it. And gradually, as time went on, I could see a film and a narrative that, with their story at the heart of it. So I did my own research and I started interviewing a lot of survivors, and what motivated me was their resilience and their courage to talk to me and to want their voice to be heard. So from that point, I started kind of framing a narrative around their experiences and their stories, and that's what led to the film. Yeah.
But you want this film to achieve something.
Yeah.
I mean, other than just getting an audience, hopefully. But
yeah, absolutely.
You want this film to achieve something. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal scenario, ideal goal for me would be that it inspires some form of change, on a political level. But also, I think, from a point of view of an audience in the West, for us to become more conscious consumers with the products that we're importing and using here. And then, back in Cambodia, we hope to take the film around to more of those, kind of rural and vulnerable villages where human trafficking takes place. And hopefully use the film as almost an education and open up the conversation about it there. So, because a lot of the guys that we talked to, they kind of knew there was an element of risk with migrating to Thailand, but if they had known what could actually happen to them, they would have never kind of gone in the first place. So there's a few things that we want the film to work on those levels, and time will tell whether it's effective or not.
Because what you show in the film is the first part of the supply chain for a lot of products that end up in Australian supermarkets. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, the traceability of those supply chains is really hard, but one of our goals is to try and connect audiences through our website with the kind of ethical traceability supply chain that exists with the Thai fishing industry, and that's just going to be an ongoing process and discovery and about where these products come from and what they are in supermarkets.
Well, I was a bit shocked to hear some of the figures.
Yeah.
But basically, if you go to the local supermarket, there's a high degree of products there that have got slavery or slave work.
Yeah.
As part of and if we have dolphin safe tuna.
Yeah.
Okay, so the dolphins are cool. Surely we need human safe products as well,
Exactly.
and they need to be marked and branded.
Yeah.
There's no slavery, no slave labour involved.
Yeah, and as consumers, we need to put pressure on those products and those, corporations that are that haven't got traceability in their supply chain or ethical traceability. So that's part of what we want to achieve with the film as well.
And Rodd, I just wanted you to address the difficulties in making this film.
Yeah.
In terms of language, physical production and financing, are you able to give me maybe an example from each of those areas about just how extraordinarily hard it was to make this film?
Yeah, so language, I think, it was always, I wasn't sure how it was going to go with, directing non-actors and actors in a foreign language. But actually if you get the casting right, it's not as hard as, and I actually had good amount of time in pre-production as well. So I was able to really kind of establish a relationship with Sam and also Dan and Moni. So the key guys I was really able to do quite a bit with in pre-production. So I mean, it was challenging, some scenes. I mean, I had to be really open and listen as well, because translating from an English written script into, say, a Thai language or Khmer language, they don't always translate exactly as what you would think. So I just needed to be open in listening to what the guys were telling me about if words needed to be changed or phrases needed to be changed within scenes. But it was all right. Physical challenges, I think filming on water was probably the biggest one, and filming on a boat. That was hard. A lot of people got seasick, even though we weren't, going out deep water for, long periods of time. Just the movement of the boat. I got seasick as well. So that was pretty hard. But
Cameras don't like salty air either, do they?
No, we had to be really diligent with that too. But it was also, I think, filming on a boat, it was such a claustrophobic space, so we didn't have a hell of a lot of space where we could just put people to the side if we're doing wide shots and stuff. So we had a barge supply boat that we used to have people on and off when we needed to.
That might have worked to your advantage, because one of the very potent parts of the film is the cinematography, which I want to ask you about just in a moment.
Yep.
But the idea that they're out in this vast ocean, stuck on a small boat, it's that incredible sort of paradox or irony of being in a huge empty area, and you can't move. In the sense of space,
floating prison.
Yes, it's totally contradictory. I thought it worked very well.
Yeah, and it was just on the cinematography with that too. It was really important to kind of maintain his childlike, adolescent-like, impressionable point of view throughout the story, and I think that's what you're telling me about is this beauty and vastness of the ocean and the world and his future, and yet he's restrained on this kind of floating prison. And,
Okay, let me ask you the question about cinematography. I was going to ask a little later, but we're on it now, so let me just ask you this, because there's a wonderful saying in, I think, American filmmaking that at the beginning of the day, you're shooting Buñuel.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're shooting the Dukes of Hazzard. You just whatever it is to get the shot.
Yeah.
I don't know who said it, but I think it's generally understood.
It's a good analogy.
That when you have the time and
Yeah.
it's early in the day and everyone's pumped up, let's make this the most artful film. And by about 4 o'clock, when you're losing your light or whatever, just block it and shoot. Come on.
Yeah.
How much was that in play in the film? Because the cinematography looks so beautiful. How much of it was actually designed and composed? How much of it was just discovering in post that, oh, thank God we got that shot?
We had to be really strategic. Like, so, a lot of those moments shot in the last hour of the day were we planned for. I was pretty conscious of the schedule, and we really wanted those, like, those moments were key for us in, as I was saying before, holding on to his point of view throughout his kind of impressionable point of view throughout the narrative. So it was all, I got to say, it was all very well planned, and we kind of, there was some days where we were like, we were really running out of light, but I think we managed just to get enough each day. So, but yeah, it's the that analogy is a good one, because things sometimes take a bit longer to get going at the start of the day than the end when the time pressure's there.
Financing, how difficult was that? Did you get a lot of support locally and internationally? Just tell us about that.
It was hard because for a film like this, it hasn't got a huge commercial reality probably. So it was hard, but my producers were amazing in finding our sales agent in Charades and Voracious Entertainment, and then you've got Definition Films, who were amazing as well. But then just the Australian support from Screen Australia, Film Victoria, the MIF Premier Fund. So everybody was responding to the script and the team and what we were trying to do really well. But it was hard. Like we would have loved more money to make, but that's probably what everyone says, I suppose.
When you say it has limited commercial prospects, are you saying that with regret? Is there another version of this film that's more commercial, or is the film what it is?
I think the film is what it is. It's just, it's foreign language. It's quite confronting, challenging subject matter. So, when I say that, I'm not, thinking that there was another version of the film. I just think it's just a hard sell in the current marketplace. That's all.
Okay. Now, you won an award in Berlin. What's the name of that award?
Ecumenical.
Right. Now, this is I understand that award reflects, it's a Protestant Catholic churches. Can you just explain a little bit about the background of the award? Who gives it to you, and what's it meant to reflect?
Well, I had never heard of the Ecumenical before I got the award, but it's coming together of the Protestant and Catholic faiths, and they come together to give an award about a film that they think reflects a human rights kind of story. So we're very fortunate to receive that, and
obviously very happy. Did you intend the film to have any sort of spiritual element to it?
Not really. No, I don't. I think it's more about the human rights, subject and issue behind the film is what they really liked about it. So
now, just a note about the violence in the film, because there are some pretty intense scenes in this film, and you were obviously very careful to show just enough to get the maximum impact out of those scenes. Could you have gone a lot further? How did you decide to include certain scenes? What did you leave out?
So I was kind of quite strategic about, you know, what the audience would kind of see in those scenes that could be quite graphic. But for me, it was, you know, implying violence rather than showing everything is almost more effective sometimes, because it leaves the audience with their own imagination to kind of, you know, determine what's being done. So it's I feel like the violence is already confronting enough, so, you know, to imply it, and as long as the performances felt, you know, authentic and real, and the emotion of them was there, then, you know, being kind of graphic wasn't a huge requirement, you know, for the film.
Are you ready for the Chambry Challenge?
Why not? Sure.
This is the challenge that I like to put to independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong answer, just so you know.
Okay.
So there's no right or wrong answer, and there's also no shame in any answer that you give me.
Okay.
So the scenario is this, because as you know, a lot of Australian filmmakers might make a really wonderful film that gets a very small audience here, and might even get a small audience in the United States, but that small audience will include studio heads and people with money and people who've got real push. So the scenario is this: I'm an American producer working for a big studio, and I've seen your beautiful little film. Just think it's really, really powerful. I think you're nearly there. And what I'd like to do is make this offer. I'd really like to give your little film a lovely platform release across the States, 1,500 theatres, maybe up to 2,000. We'll see how it goes. But we really want to push this. We think there's Oscar potential in this film. But what I want you to do, Rod, is I want you to go back and I want you to give us a really strong third act about what happens to the kid when he grows up. We want to know what the rest of his life is like. Because at the moment, it's a little bit ambiguous. It's kind of left a bit up in the air about once he's able to extricate himself from the situation, what happens to him. We want that in the film. We'd also like, at your discretion, a stronger link about where these products end up in the developed world.
Right.
So we'd like you to take care. We want you to keep the film that you've made, but we'd like you to add those bits. We will, of course, finance this. We will give you whatever money you need to make it with the same cast and so on, so you need to call them back. But we do want you to change the film in those regards. What say you?
I say, I think we can do the products in the developed world without changing the film, and I can't see developing the third act. I don't know that.
We really want you to do it. Our number crunches tell us that if you give us another 10 or 15 minutes of strong drama about where that kid ends up and what he ends up doing, whether he ends up riding his own boat, whether he turns into one of the villains he was fighting, or whether he starts a new life with his family, that's up to you.
I could live with having a go at that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So where's the paper? Where do I sign?
How do you live? How does a young filmmaker live?
If you're not prepared to do advertising and commercials, you've got to find a way to survive here. So I just work back on the family farm when I'm really desperate for money.
Okay, and the family farm being
North Central Victoria, Colburn, small town in North Central Victoria. So.
And what do you farm in?
There's like vineyards, and they do a lot of cropping and stuff. So it's pretty diverse.
Do you turn down commercial work?
No, I don't.
No.
I just don't put myself in that space. But
A lot of directors just see it as a training ground.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, your toilet paper or your vodka or whatever it is, perfect.
Oh,
If
It's really good, and if you get the work, I think it pays really well. But I'm quite happy to remove myself and just do something like farming, and then write in my spare time, I guess.